Hello all again, once again, to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Louis Brett Raven. I'm your host, Louis Brett Raven, 33-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And it is Tuesday, July 8th. That means it's Comics Industry and Crowdfunder Night. And joining me this week is my regular guest co-host, Chris Hall, also known as Jack Spratt. And our guest of the week is a writer and a newly minted distributor, shall we say, Phil Russertt of Philbo Distribution and Philbo Entertainment Promotion.
How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we're glad to have you.
Thrilled to have you on, Bill.
Thank you.
Well, let's kind of get to the scene. You started out in this industry as a writer and self-publisher.
Actually, prior to that, I was running conventions in New York, and I was an art rep.
Okay. So how long did you do that before you got into publishing?
Conventions I ran from 2018 to the middle of COVID, and then I put that on hold. I started art repping right before COVID, so 2019, September 2019, December 2019, November 2019. Sorry. Because of distribution, I decided to stop the repping. I have put shows on hold because I'm doing distribution and publishing of my own. But I wanted to learn all the different facets of the industry, because I feel if I'm going to be successful and to be able to lift up everybody else in the process, I better know what the hell I'm doing. So from all angles.
Yeah. Or at least be familiarized with what other people are trying to do.
Right. Understanding the other person's angle helps a lot, not just with communication, but how you structure a business, and even whether it's what to do or what not to do. So,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. So you started in the convention scene, and then was the art rep, and then you started publishing.
Yes.
Okay.
And you were a talent rep for a while too, right?
Yeah, I represented artists. I actually got some people on Vampirella and Dynamite and color work for them, and interiors, and then of course just getting a lot of indie work and helping the quote unquote little guy get out there. So it was a lot of work, because I was actually getting them work. I wasn't just selling their art.
Right.
Yeah. That I've done that too. That's not an easy task. Because you become the go-between between your publisher and the artist a lot of the time, and trying to resolve issues that they should be able to resolve on their own.
Yeah, again, that it just helps when you understand both sides, both parties. You can negotiate or communicate much better. Being a publisher and being, on the artist side, like I don't draw, but I understand their side of things just by working with them and being a writer. I think it helped me bridge the gap in those situations.
So
go ahead. Chris.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, so being a publisher, let's talk about your titles. What do you publish?
So my flagship title is called Tragedy, and it's been reviewed very well by the late great Peter David, by Chuck Dixon, and by Howard Mackey. I work with a lot of big name Marvel DC artists on covers. Ricardo Silva is the interior artist, wonderful human being. Colors are by Chris Sotomayor, who's been in the industry for 30 years.
Chris is coloring for you, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a friend, and he's a friend. He's a wonderful human being, really great guy.
Yeah, he is fantastic human being. So yeah,
absolutely. And Jason Meadows does the letters, and it's basically an Irish assassin that's dealing with her own inner demons, her own insecurities, her own flaws, while dealing with mafia, assassins, mysticism, martial arts, superpowered beings. It's kind of like if you took Kill Bill, John Wick, and Big Trouble in Little China and mixed it in and then threw in some Philbo. And it's been reviewed very well. It was doing great on crowdfunding prior to pulling it off, because we know we're going to be going monthly with distribution. And I'm proud of it. I like characters that are flawed, but with the hero's journey. I like heroes that don't always win. that's why we love The Empire Strikes Back, because the good guys got their butts handed to them, and that's growth, that's development. I mean, every day we wake up and we feel like we're getting kicked in the teeth, whether it's by a boss, some troll on the internet, or our neighbor who just keeps blasting their radio, and you feel like life is just constantly kicking you down, and our superpower, our strength, is that we still get up and face the day, even when we'd rather curl up in the fetal position under the blanket. And that's really what she's about. As much as there's some bombastic fights and it's fun 9-page fights, because I also get tired of comics just standing around talking. It's really a delve into her and her self-doubt, and she actually faces an adversary in the very first issue that she can't beat, and it doesn't go well. And he's actually got a superpower that has never been used in comics before. And Howard Mackey yelled at me because he actually thought of it a long time ago, but never put it into comics. So I beat him. So Howard, I beat you.
That's funny. So,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was good. So this this title, like, a lot of people would assume that this falls into like the whole bad girl comics. Is that something you find? And if so, like, how do you go opposite of that? Like, how do you
I don't
break her out of that?
I don't think she's been received as a bad girl because her boobs aren't out, which is intentional. It's intentional for two reasons. One, I have 2 little girls, and I don't want that to be what I'm teaching women is their strength, And the other thing is, she's an assassin risking her life every day. I really don't think she wants. I think she'd rather have a bulletproof Kevlar vest up to her neck than her cleavage out. So I went that route. We still sell very well, but everybody keeps telling me if you pop the boobs out, you could do 30, 40,000 on the campaign easy, but I just refuse to do that. It's not the character.
Yeah, well, that's
Right.
good. I like sticking to your morals. I like that.
And that's an Ian Churchill cover. That's Kreese Hyung-Sung Lee, who's on Marvel and DC. We got Will Spertasio below with Alex Sinclair colors, and backgrounds by Kenny Calderon. We have an original Will's cover, but we needed to do a new background for the launch, and Will's didn't have time, so he's like, "Could you get somebody to do the backgrounds?" And Kenny stepped in, did a wonderful job. And then we have the Bill Sienkiewicz, colored by Chris Sotomayor.
Very, very cool.
We were supposed to take those off. They're not actually ratio variants at this point. You can buy them no matter how many you buy.
Okay.
I thought they were taken off. I don't know what happened, but we're going to get that off.
Well,
so they're not ratio variants. They're just variants.
Well, this is the PDF I downloaded last week, so it might.
Okay, gotcha.
So
we made it change after.
Right. So that's probably why it says that, just so people know. but yes, those are now no longer variant ratios. So, what kind of percentage discount are you offering on this?
To the retailers, you mean?
Yes.
We offer 40%. We know that orders aren't going to be high. And with our costs being what they are, especially with low print runs, that's what we can do right now. Mm-hmm. But if you compare it to Lunar, under $1,000 a Lunar is only 35%. So I think we're doing pretty good for indies with our percentage.
What kind of numbers are you doing on these books?
Well, we just launched last week, and of course we had a major holiday. So we've had a few orders, about 20 orders have come in so far. I expect to see a lot more because we have a lot of signups and a lot of questions coming from retailers. But what I'm very happy to see is of those 20 or so orders, every one of them has made large orders, like several $100s or more, and they're sample sizing a lot of different indies. So they're not focusing on just Zenescope or Antarctic Press or Devil's Due. They went down that catalog and they said, this looks good, let me give it a try. And they're buying 2 or 3 of this one, 2 or 3 of that one. So it was really nice to see someone buy 105 books and it's all mixed throughout the publishers. So that's a good sign.
Nice.
Yeah, that is a good sign, because there's been such a resistance over the pretty much since the black and white implosion of the late 80s. But really after we had the diamond monopolization, it really became a problem.
It's funny you bring up that time, too, because AC Comics with FemForce, they're like the 8th account Diamond ever signed up. They're with us. They're in the catalog. So little history there.
Yeah, very cool. Love that.
But
Yeah, I think this back of the catalog stereotype is a bit unjust, because it's in the back of the catalog. You can't expect it to sell as well, you know. So it's not necessarily on the merit of the product as it is placement of the product. You know, if you don't know Jim Lee's at a convention, there's no line. But if you knew Jim Lee was there, there's a line, you know?
Right.
And
right.
I think indie books are just so much more professionally done these days, with professional talent and mainstream talent even jumping on board, that I think it's a missed opportunity for stores to just assume it won't sell. There's a reader market that wants it.
Yeah, I think there was a cultural shift in the 90s when Diamond monopolized, because of all the so-called preferred publishers and stuff. Because prior to that monopolization, you got everything in the catalog A to Z, and
Right.
you went to the catalog A to Z,
Right.
you know. And I found, even at that time, because I started doing this right at the time Diamond became Monopoly, but for like 2 years earlier, I was doing a co-op with my fellow creators out of college, doing our own books. And they would be very resistant to anything. And I'd be like, well, why don't you try it? You know, and I would market stuff that was similar to our stuff that was in the catalogs already, and they would get mad. Right. I was like, you know, why are you angry?
I think a lot of store owners are a creature of habit, for one thing. Especially the ones that have survived for 40 years. I think they're afraid to deviate or take any risks. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think, and I hate to put it this way, but I think there's a laziness in Western business. They want a sure thing. It's kind of like why they'll make a black Superman. It's not that they really care about representing the black culture. It's that they don't want to spend the time to create a new wonderful black character. So they want to take the mythos and the fan base of Superman to do it. We have great black characters that they could be promoting, and they don't. You know, they use the mythos of Superman or Captain America. People want a sure thing instead of investing in anything at this point. And I think, and they want more and more of a markup than ever. Like, you know, there was a time where businesses could thrive 50, 60% markup. They were very happy. Now they want, you know, a 2,000% markup, or they're not satisfied. And I just think between that mentality and being stuck in ways, people are just resistant to necessary change. But again, if they're resistant, we just have to show them that it's the right way to go.
Yeah.
So do you think that along with being, you know, stubborn creatures of habit, stuff like that, it's that the market is so volatile and sales are so just sales are so down that that's why they're afraid to take a chance on new things and smaller books. They want that sure thing.
I think it's enhanced that, but I think we got here because of that mentality. I think that's why it's volatile. That's why readership is down. That's why things are bad. I mean, we've allowed CGC to come in and tell us to stop reading comics and put them in a slab. I mean, they're a fossil now hanging on your wall instead of red. You know, we have publishers that don't want to pull on new ideas. They want to regurgitate the same old thing or hire the same people because they don't want to try that new thing. We have retailers since the 80s that really didn't want to try new things for the most part. It was always that group of retailers that did, and that's why we know about Nexus and all that. But I think that's the mentality that got us here, because as much as Diamond was a monopoly, the retailers became the only outlet, and it was what they said went. If they didn't think something would sell and they didn't want to take a chance, well, then screw you. You're out. You know, sorry, you're done.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm not
as far as that goes. Yes,
I'm not a fan of the direct market at all. I completely miss being able to go into like your local convenience store or you know the grocery store and find the spinner racks. That was always, you know.
I agree, and you know what the challenge with that is those types of places, they want you to provide returns, and that's just a harsh business model for any publisher or periodical distribution to take on. So it'll take someone to be a little, use a little ingenuity and change things up to bridge that gap again for other outlets. And hopefully someone will be able to do that.
So you have plans in the works.
Yes, I always have. I'm always 10 years ahead, 5 years ahead. I mean, I'm focused on now, but everything I do is for the long game. And I think that's another thing that's hurt the industry. There's too much short-term thought. It's how do I get my money now and move on? Like for example, the variant cover gimmicks that went on, right? Yes, it bolstered sales, but you were putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It was killing readership. Readers weren't coming back, and it was padding the numbers. So I think this whole what can I get out of it now mentality is kind of grifting. And I think it's also why we're in the position we are now, because no one has thought, how do we do this together? I don't want to make money off of anyone. I want to make it with them.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, yes, hello, little one.
Yeah.
This is our mascot, Midnight, the Midnight Monster.
If you had a newspaper or a computer, they have to be there.
Yep.
Well, but anyway, I lost my train of thought thanks to him.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to cast a negative light on retailers or this and that. I'm just trying to be candid about what I think contributed to where we are now. Well, and there's a lot to go around to say,
Yeah, well, there is. It's not just, yes, part of it is the retailer mentality, but part of it is also fan mentality. I mean, you've seen the YouTube channels.
Branding.
Yeah, it's branding, and it's all, this person sucks. How would you know? This person isn't even qualified to be working in comics. Really, what are your qualifications to make that assumption? I'd like to know, as a 33-year veteran who happens to be a talent scout and a publisher and everything. I'd like to know what your background.
Well, you know what it is? There's so much tribalism now. It's like, look at how they crapped all over Superman before it even came out, because you're either Snyderverse or you're not, or because it wasn't Henry Cavill. And look, I'm a big Superman fan. I'm hoping for it to be successful. I'm not rooting for it to fail. If I'm disappointed in it, I'm not going to go crap on it and blast it because somebody worked hard to create it. I'm just gonna wasn't my thing and move on. I don't need to do that.
Well, I've heard people say that it is basically the live action version of the old Superman cartoon.
The Fleischer?
Not the Fleischer, the
from the
what's his name? The Bill Tim. Sorry, Bruce Timm.
Oh, Bruce Timm. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically a live action version of that. So
I'm fine with that. We all
that gives me hope. Yeah, that gives me hope.
That gives you hope, I guess. I mean, I can be honest. I'm not interested anymore. There comes a point where all these characters get so thrust in your face constantly that no longer matters what the quality is. I've moved on. I'm looking for something else.
I can get that oversaturation.
Yeah, oversaturation, and that's the character IP. That's certain creators. That's everything. And retailers need to understand that when I walk in the door in your store, you can't market the same stuff all the time, because what's going to happen is I'm just not going to want to come to your store.
Right.
And if I ask for something that isn't what you normally market, don't give me a side eye or, I've never heard of that, or why would you want that? Or, that kind of, you don't want that, type attitude.
Well, and that's the thing is they try to tell you what you want, right?
A lot of them do, yes. But the thing is, I mean, when you walk into a store and it's 1994 and you ask for Sandman, Mr. Theater, Hellblazer, Swamp Thing, and a retailer tells you you don't want that because only goths want that shit and you're not a goth. I'm like, what the heck? And I went home and I went and brought my collections that are autographed to me by the creators to prove that I want this product, to get him to order it for me. He still wouldn't order the stuff because he knew that it wouldn't sell. I'm like,
and that's just sad.
And it's funny too, because here's the example I use. I'm good friends with Billy Tucci, who's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s, Image was booming, right? And they were coming out with all this new stuff. Now, the reason why I don't use Image itself as the example is because they were big name artists and everybody was stuck in the celebrity. That was the branding thing.
Mm-hmm.
But here came Billy Tucci. Nobody knew who this little guy was, with this obscure new character, She. She didn't have any branding. She didn't have any backing. She wasn't a major publisher.
Mm-hmm.
He came out of nowhere, sold 84,000 copies, became an indie success in the middle of the biggest uproar in comics history with Image.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were doing crossovers with Marvel and my point is this. In the 90s, how many stores said, oh, that won't sell? Nobody knows what that book is. And then they said, oh, crap, we missed first printing because we didn't jump on board.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it now. By the way, Billy Tucci, She is in my catalog.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you never know what is going to be the next big IP hit. I mean, Hellboy was obscure at one point. His first appearance was in the Next Men. He wasn't even a featured character,
Right. The first miniseries. The first Hellboy miniseries sold 30,000.
Right.
And now, of course, here we are 30 years later, and it's had 4 or 5 movies and 3 or 4 animated feature films and other things as well. And it's a big franchise. But that was something that even back then in the 90s, Mike didn't complain because Mike never looked at himself as being that marketable.
Right.
He was very, very, I won't say shy, but very quiet, reserved person. But Byrne, who brought him in to Legend and that whole imprint at the time, made a very big public stink about the fact that a lot of their books weren't getting what he thought the marketing should have been for them. And that's why he pulled his books off the market, Danger Unlimited and Babe and X-Men, for the period he did, because he was like, why are you marketing these complete nobodies at Image and buying that stuff that isn't even being delivered on time? And it wasn't. They were coming out months and months late.
Right.
And retailers were eating them because of that, in part.
Those guys were partying, that's why.
Yeah, well, among other things. Yeah. Well, a lot of them were a lot of younger ones that just hadn't learned the way to be a professional yet.
Well, they were thrust into celebrity, and they had screaming fans, and yeah, I don't think they had a chance to mature in the industry at that point.
Right. They did later on. Some of them did.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, but at that time, I think that a lot of retailers resented Byrne for that too, for calling them out.
But he wasn't wrong.
No, he wasn't wrong.
Right.
And that was the thing, It was a lot of people that were veterans, but
and I think people think it's a marketing ploy. It's not. Honestly, hindsight is what. And for a small investment of a $3 book and a $2 profit, what if it becomes a hit and you've got those number ones? I mean, it's a small investment with such a great possible return, and really minimal loss. So I never understand being that close to the hip about this, like standing on this hill of back of the catalog. Well, let's do a test. Let's swap everything. Let's put the back of the catalog at the front, and let's see how the sales shift. Because how much can you write about Batman after 3,000 stories?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, at some point, it's like you said, it's just fatigue. It's what else can you write about him? I mean, look, I love Batman. I'm kind of tired of him now, but I don't know. It's like the whole point of this indie scene is there's no continuity issues to worry about. There's no rebooting at number ones. There's no retconning. You're at number one. You're ground zero, starting with us throughout this journey, and it's well written stuff, well illustrated stuff, and you're there from the start with the character you love. No one's writing for corporate shareholders. No one's writing for social agenda or any platform to speak through. We just want to put out good stories that you can enjoy yourself and escape the world, escape reality for a while, And I think there's a hunger for that. And I think there's a lot of untapped hunger. Like there's some people that they don't realize they want it until they try it out,
Yeah,
because
right.
There's a stigma that it's indie for a reason. It's indie for two reasons. They either didn't have the financial backing or they just didn't get the branding marketing. That's it. And it's all money based.
Right.
But it's not a quality base. It's a marketing thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting out there in front of enough eyes.
And quality is subjected to personal taste anyway.
Right. Some people might look at Mike Mignola, his art, with Hellboy, and not think it's good. And some people think he's a genius. Some people look at Bill Sienkiewicz and think he's too abstract. And some people think he's just an absolute legend. I mean, isn't that the whole point of art and creativity? There's something for somebody in the indie community.
Right. And so speaking of that, so Kickstarter has developed over the last, decade or so. And has been like a real, I feel like it's been a real boon to like the indie community to be able to fund and get books out there that you normally wouldn't see. So what are your thoughts on Kickstarter? Are you going to be like marketing to like people through Kickstarter as for distribution, or how you handling that?
So I think Kickstarter and crowdfunding, yes, it's a great outlet and another tool in the belt, but I don't think it's what it used to be. And just numbers across the board show it. And I have a few theories as to why. One theory is all the major publishers are using it now. When they have direct to market, they're still using Kickstarter. Like we just had the big Skybound stuff. So now there's most of the pie, the money in the industry is going there. And now there's less left over for the little guys that were doing. Like I was doing $13,000 campaigns, and now I'm doing 8, 6. Because the money is now funneling over to the big names that already have direct market, and they're utilizing Kickstarter, or whatever the case. The second thing is I think it's shifted from a reader demographic to a collector demographic. That's why NSFW, like the booby books, do well, because they're collectors. They want to collect those covers. They're not reading those stories. I would imagine they're not. I don't think anybody ever talks about the stories, so they're collecting. They like the graded. They like the swag. They like the metal. They like the foil. They like the coins. So I don't think the readers are going to crowdfunding as much as they used to as well. And I think those two things have hindered. And I think the reason is crowdfunding has become oversaturated. Anybody and his uncle could do a comic now. And there's going to be some bad, some good, but it's all blurred in together. It's all in this big mix. And it's been used as distribution because it was really the only outlet that how many indies could get through, because they were getting gatekept by Diamond. I mean, as a distributor, I don't tell you if I think your book can sell or not. I'm not a publisher. I believe in a free market. It's who am I to say? The free market will tell you. I'm here to ship your books out. You're using me for my list of stores and for my fulfillment. I have very minimal criteria for any books I pick up, and I'm not going to gatekeep you otherwise. And I think crowdfunding is still a wonderful outlet. I just don't think it's as strong an outlet as it used to be. And it's morphed.
Well, I think it's morphed partly because they've politicized it a little bit. Some people are supposed to be Comicsgate, which,
I'm not into tribalism.
Yeah, it's all tribalism, exactly. And it's like the whole reason that any of us were over in that scene is because when we went through the Diamond market, whether we did it as self-publishers or we went through Image or Dark Horse or Oni or Boom or IDW or Dynamite, we weren't getting the numbers. Why were we not getting the numbers? Because the retailers were ordering IP brand or ordering a bunch of extra covers or whatever. They didn't have the budget to invest in and take the time to individually market these individual titles to profitable gains margins.
Right.
And so now the retailers have this attitude, some of them, not all of them, that we abandoned them for this other venue. Well, we didn't abandon you. You weren't supporting us in the first place. We had to go somewhere.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of what I've always said. And I spend about $35,000 to $45,000 a year on crowdfunded and direct to consumer product.
And that is not a lie. He
listen,
could start his own comic shop.
Well, I got this great catalog you can look through.
Well,
yeah,
that's the funny part. Today I was at my local comic shop, and I reminded him, because I already sent him links to your pages and stuff, and he goes, "Oh crap, I forgot to do that last weekend. I gotta get that signed up and get the stuff. Remind me after your podcast, to send me a text, to remind me to do that." So yeah, he's interested and why is he interested? Because you have Billy Tucci Crusade, you have Antarctic, you have Xenoscope, and those are ones that he regularly supported, but was having difficulties getting through the Diamond over the last 6-8 months.
Well, unfortunately, like Xenoscope, it's a little confusing right now. We're trying to make it clear to everybody. We had our FOC ends at September 1st for October release, but because of what Diamond did to Devil's Due and Xenoscope, we're helping them out by releasing their September releases, but on the same FOC, because they're doing offset printing. I'll have the books in hand based on speculation ahead of time. So when the FOC locks is September 1st, I literally will ship their books out September 2nd to meet the September timelines, release dates for those books. But that's just an anomaly right now because, we wanted to help, and Diamond really put them in a lurch.
Yes.
After that, it'll be, monthly releases. And, we tweaked a few things. And I think change scares people, or they just, and I know comic shops deal with a lot. They've got their inventory to do, and they've got their bookkeeping, and employees are hard to keep, especially good ones, and setting up, keeping the store fresh and clean and set up and stuff like that. But I think if they just tried to find the time to do a few little things, they'd see a bump in sales. For example, Comics Distribution is a group on Facebook that I now belong to, and someone brought up my distribution, and a few comic retailers went on there and voiced why they are not interested. And that's fine. I appreciate their candor and honesty. I like to get feedback. That's important. And another retailer came in and said, here's the thing. I was in Texas, and I was a big indie seller. I mean, my demographic, they came in and they lopped it up. And I moved to Florida, she said. She goes, and I was concerned, will I have a different demographic here? And she goes, the thing is, we didn't. We still sold indie. She goes, because I do little things like I give them a whole wall, a nice big display. I did these little write-ups, she said, and put the cards right in front of the book so people knew what the synopsis was. And I'm not saying, all stores have to go this back. They don't owe us this, but you owe yourself something. And she said she's making great sales on indie, better than Marvel and DC, because of that effort she put in. So I guess it's the old adage, you get out of it what you put into it. And she believed in indie as a marketable, sellable product. So she put that little extra effort in, and it's garnered rewards. Now, will that be for everyone? No. Some demographics, some stores are really just, their fan base is just Marvel, DC. I don't give a crap about anything else. And those stores will know that fan base. I'm just asking stores that make sure you know your fan base. Don't assume that they're just Marvel and DC, because that's the safe bet. Sample size a few things. There's no minimum order.
Right. Well, yeah, it's not just that, though. I mean, Marvel and DC have produced so much content that has aggressively pushed fandom away from that content.
Sure.
You listen to your customers. If they're complaining and X-Men sucks, X-Men is just terrible now. Okay, then. I don't need to sell you X-Men. Let me show you Section Zero by Carl Kiesel and Tom Drummond. Right. Let me show you Gladstone's School for World Conquerors. Let me show you the Uniques. Let me show you, I can't even think of the name of the group, Perhapanauts by Todd DeZago and Craig Rousseau. There are alternatives that were already here in the market.
Right.
And I would try to do this with customers, and I would get my head chewed off by the retailer for doing it. Now, there's reasons why. Part of it is because Diamond was not being equitable in distribution discount. If I get 58% discount off a Marvel book and I only get 42% discount off of this creator-owned book, I'm going to order the X book because I get 16 more cents per dollar sold.
Right.
Plus, I've got X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, Wolverine, all these other expanded titles versus one title. If I get them onto the one title, they may not buy all these others, and I'm losing more money, and I can't sell as much product for that one issue. So I understand the reluctance and resistance, but the thing of it is, you're better off to have standalone titles that allow your audience to expand their interest in the overall art form than be obsessed with one brand.
Sure.
Because once they lose that interest in that one brand, what do you got them for?
Well, also look at this, right? Marvel and DC, if it was the bread and butter it used to be, then stores won't be struggling or closing. I mean, we're under 2,000 stores when we used to have 7,000. So you can't say that Marvel and DC are the end all be all they used to be. That's the first thing. The second thing is, how many stores are now doing Pokemon, tabletop gaming, and action figures? They're expanding to other areas to try to increase revenue. Well, let me ask you something. How many of those stores are those board games just sitting on those shelves? If you're going to expand for revenue, why wouldn't you give the same try to an indie book that you did to that tabletop game?
Right. Yep. Exactly.
I mean, It's like you're willing to sample size all these other mediums to supplement revenue loss, but you won't sample size the medium, comics, because of a stigma. It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know. I haven't run a comic store for 40 years, so maybe I don't get it, and maybe I wouldn't survive. But look, I'm not trying to question any retailer's intelligence or their success. I'm just trying to get them to say,
look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, let's just give it a try. Because what's the worst that happens, right? $4.99 book, you paid $2.99. You bought 2 of them. Maybe one sells, one sits on a shelf, and then it winds up becoming a 50-cent bin. Now, I'm not saying you're in the business to lose money, but you gambled and you lost $1 and change. You move on, or you a few dollars. You move on. Right. But what if you didn't? What if they buy those 2, and then now you've got that customer comes in, I want that tragedy book every month. And you know what? I saw this other book that had a character that looked really good. If this indie is this good, what is this about? Let me see this. And maybe it starts snowballing and building, right? Because
you get a customer like me that buys all indie.
Yeah, there's that interest.
So, okay. So what is Philbo Entertainment all about? What are your strengths? Why should people come to you for distributing their books? Do you have an ace in the hole? Do you just know a lot of people? I mean, what's Philbo all about?
Well, Philbo is about, I love comics. It's the greatest medium in the world, in my opinion. And I've watched it slowly decline. And I've watched so many people put their heads in the sand and act like it's not happening and they don't care. Do I think comics are going to die? No. They'll always exist. But will they exist on the level they should exist? And that's what concerns me. I don't want them to go into a level of obscurity because it deserves so much more. Comics mean so much to me for personal reasons. And I know a lot of people feel the same. And I just feel I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Do I think I'm a savior? No. Do I think I'm going to solve everything? Of course not. I don't have that kind of ego. I mean, that would really be a narcissist. I do think I'm capable, competent, and trustworthy. I know that I have the work ethic that most people wouldn't put in. I know that I've studied every angle so that I'm knowledgeable, but I also know that I'm smart enough to know I don't know everything. And when I don't know, defer to the people that do know, and I will learn and grow from you and with you. But the biggest thing I think is important is that I'm giving a voice to people that don't have a voice. Diamond denied them that voice. Lunar is still denying them their voice. These people need an outlet. Now, look, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a slow build. I don't expect sales to be huge. Of course not. This is a long game situation. And if you jump on board with me, all I can tell you is I like to underpromise and overdeliver. I'm going to bust my ass for you, for me, for the industry, because I want this to succeed for everyone, because rising tides raise all ships. And again, that's not talk, because honestly, the less publishers I have on would be a lot easier for me. Okay? But I want to help as best as I can, and I'm in the trenches with you because I'm a publisher too. I understand. And I just want people to get a fair shake. I want fans to stop focusing on branding and focus on quality. They will spend $400 on a crappy piece of art just because it's done by somebody well-known, than $150 on somebody who's so talented, but they don't know that person. And it's heartbreaking and it's hard. And it's about creativity and art as an art form, and having diversity and options. You know, I believe in free market.
When we say diversity, we're not talking about political diversity or racial diversity or any of that. We're talking about having choices of different styles of writing and art.
Right. And that's again, in any book that has diverse characters, if it's for the sake of the story, that's a wonderful thing, because the world is full of so many different people, and those books need to be out there too. Like Fabrice Sapolsky is a friend of mine. He does Fair Square Graphics. Right. He co-created Spider-Man Noir. He hates when I say that, but anyway, he has beautiful books. I mean, not only are they produced very well, but they're well-written stories, and they deal with immigrants. They deal with different, diverse cultures. But he's not shoving diversity on a political level down your throat. He's just writing good stories that involve people of the world. And we need that. We want that. And that's what makes comics great. I love having Bishop and Storm in the X-Men. I mean, giant-size X-Men, without shoving it down your throat, was as diverse as you get. They went to different countries, different people, different cultures. And it went over well because it is important and because it is real life. It's about how you write it, though, right? Yes. So, and that's the point. These indie books are written for the sake of story, not to beat you over the head with, I believe this as a writer. Because if you know what a writer thinks about any political or socio-political situation, that writer failed you. They failed you big time, because they're just using the book as a pulpit, not as a storytelling form of art.
Right.
And all these indie guys are just creating art, worlds that you can delve into. I mean, come on, guys. Even before it was Wednesdays, what was it, Tuesdays we used to go, or Fridays? That one day a week you were excited. I can't wait to get out of school and run. You would walk 10 blocks to the comic store, ride your bike, go pick up your 10, 15 titles, get some Bazooka Joe and a great one of those little 25-cent quarter drinks, and get your ass home and lock yourself in your room and shut out the world. And you were in that world. You were in Marvel. You were in DC. You were in there. Do we really feel that way anymore? But with indie, you can.
Yeah. We definitely don't feel that way about Marvel and DC. I don't think.
You know where you feel that way? When you go to more titles that weren't big, like Saga, right? You know?
Saga was big, but
it technically wasn't. I mean, he's a well-known writer, and it is an image brand, but it didn't have a history like Batman and that. It was a new book, and it's basically is indie. It's brand new. I mean, it helped that it was Vaughn writing it, but it was this new idea, and it was a little weird looking, right? A guy with a TV head. I mean, it was outlandish, but people took a chance on it, and look how much they love it, and look how much it's a part of pop culture. How about Strangers in Paradise by Terry Moore? How about Astro City? You know, how about Nexus by Michael Barron? How about Badger? You know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Look, Kevin Eastman's a wonderful human being, but if you saw that book on a shelf today with that old school art style, I don't know if it would be as successful. I don't know. Did it deserve to be? It deserves all the success it gets, but in different times, who knows? You know, because of the mentality of the fan base.
Well, like I was saying, back in the 90s, I would sit there and promote Bone, Strangers in Paradise, Love and Rockets, A Distant Soil,
Right.
And I would get my ass chewed because I was promoting these books over the Image titles or over Batman and Superman.
And yet they're well known.
Because this was during the Death of Superman, Nightfall type era. And I was just like, dude, you've already got X number of orders sold guaranteed already on those. You don't need to sell every single copy and order all this extra stuff for that to keep building people onto that, because people are just not going to get into it. They're going to lose interest in a year or two. And you've already got people here who are expressing no interest in it. So
and when people know something's a gimmick, they get tired.
Yeah. And it's not just that. I mean, it would be, as long as it was something that the retailer wanted sold, it was fine. It was kind of the attitude.
Right.
And I don't know why it mattered. Because as long as I'm selling a book, helping you sell a book, why are you mad? That was the thing I didn't understand back in the day. And when I started doing the co-op, I was like, okay, if you don't want to do it, I'll go somewhere else and ask someone else if they're interested. It's simple.
Right.
Which brings us back to the thing. You said you were interested in engaging outside of direct market at some point with libraries and schools and stuff.
Yeah, libraries are willing to work with distributors, especially on collected volumes. They're not going to do floppies, but collected volumes, trade paperbacks, books like Fair Square Graphics. Fabrice, he has these beautiful, beautiful bound books. They are interested, and that's going to be in the works.
And there's so many more libraries in the United States than there are comic shops that you're better off.
And aren't going out of business.
Well, it's not a question of, understand libraries are struggling right now too, because thanks to our government, they're cutting a lot of the budgets for what the libraries can afford and stuff like that. So there are difficulties that libraries are facing right now. But what we can do through libraries is use the format to generate back to comic stores.
Right.
And, I regularly do this where, I buy all the liquidated books out of Ollie's or these other stores cheap, and I give them away to the local libraries. And then people go, I want a copy of this. Well, if you want a copy of this, here's where you can go order it from the local comic book shop. That's how I do it.
But again, that's thinking long term. That's the domino effect. It's not thinking short term. What do I get out of this? Or what is it for me here? It's how is this going to affect the industry as a whole? And I really do think we owe it to the industry, not to other people. We owe it to the medium and the industry to start thinking less about, what do I get out of this, and more of how does this help everybody as a whole? Because if the industry thrives, we all thrive.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you think about what benefits everybody else, it comes back to you. We sold 3,870,000 plus copies over 7 years of underground independent comics from my studio.
Wow.
And my co-op. But only like 3% of that was to comic stores. So, yeah, I'm selling my books to libraries. I'm selling my books to laundromats. I'm selling my books to tattoo parlors. I'm selling my books to wherever I can sell them.
Today you've got weed dispensaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you get books where people can find them, they will eventually come back around to where you have specialty stores.
Sure.
That have things that I didn't have in my collection because I only had like 87 titles represented. Obviously Diamond had close to 800 at the time. But, okay, fine. Go check those 800 out too. That was my
right.
But today it's like the retailers who have this, I don't know what it is. They're like, it's the end of an era because Diamond's going under and I've got to do paperwork for all these companies. I'm like, That's basic retailing 101 for every other retail business in the world. Why are you complaining?
Right.
Am I, and I've said that for a long time, but people get mad at me for saying it. And I don't know if I'm just.
Well, it's funny you say that because, yeah, a lot of stores like, I don't want to have to go through a bunch of different distributors, order from here, from here, from here. You know what started to pop up? Businesses like Manage My Comics, that they're a central hub where they get all the distributors to their thing. They sell a subscription to the stores. The stores can order from all the distributors on their one hub. They send the orders to the distributor, and we take care of it, and we get those clients as well. And I think it's another example of changing with the times. Those people recognize that with more distributors, a central hub is key. Just like that's the whole point of a distributor. That's why stores don't want to deal with publishers individually, because then they'd be dealing with hundreds of different publishers, and that's just payroll madness and shipping madness. I mean, think about this, right? If you're going to go order
that's for sure. Because how many books do I get a week?
Yeah, if I get 4 or 5 books from 14 different distributors, and each one the shipping's $20-$30, look how much I spent just in shipping. But if I go to distribution and I get them all in a bulk, and I'm spending just that one $25-$30 on the same thing I would have spent $80, I'm saving money. So it's very vital to have hubs, but I do think it's vital to have distribution options.
Yes. Speaking of hubs, I know you just started with one so far. Your own warehouse, correct?
Yes.
What is your agenda moving, say, 5 years up the road for that? Are you looking to have like regional hubs or?
It's funny because I don't really want to get that big, but meanwhile I have stores in Poland, UK, Australia. They're all signed up and they want to order from me, and I'm like, oh my Lord. So we have to adjust shipping and work things out and the timing of things. So my intent was never to expand that large, and I don't want to get so big where the people I represent through distribution are competing amongst themselves in a catalog of 800 people either. That's hard too. I don't want to become the guy that has the back of the catalog. So I don't really want to be that big. Where I cap is a great question, because I was going to cap at 20 publishers, and then it was going to be 30, and then it was going to be 40, and now we're well above 40. And it's like, I have a hard time turning people away because I understand their struggles and their frustrations, but I'm going to have to at some point. So no, I don't want to have, hubs all over the United States. I don't want to become that huge corporation. I don't. I like being a sole proprietor. I don't want to be that large. But you know what? I don't know if the future might change my mind, or things might just,
The thing is, you could also possibly, if you find the right partners, have different people head up the regionals, but you're all under one banner, like what we were with the co-op that I ran. I ran the Nevada branch, which handled the West Coast, but we had one in Colorado, one in Illinois, one in Michigan.
I mean, it would make things a lot easier to have those other branches, of course.
But you got to have the right people with the right attitude. Because like when I left in 2002, because both my parents suffered heart attacks and I couldn't really take care of them, the other 4 guys kind of like went wild dog on each other and trying to take each other. I'm like, what are you idiots doing? And they lasted like maybe another 8 to 12 months.
Unfortunately, that's why I work on my own, even though it means 21 hours a day, because I don't know. It's personality clashes, different visions, egos.
Yeah. The thing is, it's like you worked with me for 7 years. The minute I leave, you're all of a sudden, what is this? That was what upset me at the time. But now, after seeing, now that I've got the lens of 20 years plus, I understand why it happened. I'm mad at them for letting it happen, but I understand why it happened, But it's that kind of thing now. Because, there's a lot of people in this business that have been trying for decades to rebuild the regionals.
Right.
We've had TC Ford. TC, I'm pretty sure.
No.
You don't know TC? Okay, well, I'll have to introduce you to him sometime. You're familiar with IndiePlanet.com.
Yes.
Yeah, Barry started out trying to do what you're doing right now, and the industry just said, poo-poo on that. So that's why he went to print on demand and doing the system he did. We had the Minnesota Comics crew, which is rebuilding now. We had Kevin Clady, he's sick and his family's taking care of him now. But they had a distributor for throughout the 90s. They helped liquidate a lot of the failing stores of the 90s when we had the implosion. And people thought that he was like, well, that's mean because he's liquidating stores. No. What he was doing was making sure Steve Geppi didn't steal all their merchandise because he had invested silently in those stores. And he wanted to get all that back stock as collateral for his debt. And what Kevin did was make sure Geppi got his, but everybody else got theirs. Yeah, a big difference. But now, unfortunately, they lost their 2 warehouses to flooding. And I don't know if they're going to rebuild, but things happen in this life.
Right. So, I want your opinion, Phil, on do you feel that the distribution, comics distribution, has any responsibility or part in trying to help overcome the bang for your buck? Like, people are going to buy video games over comics, or they're going to buy this or that because they're getting more bang for their buck. So what are you doing, and what do you feel like the distribution branch has a responsibility to help overcome that?
So that's a great question, because Diamond will always tell you we're not here to market for you other than previews, and previews is not enough. And I do let the publishers know you're going to have to cold call stores. You're going to have to put in the time. You're going to have to market your own books. But I do more marketing than any other distributor. For example, we send out a newsletter when we send out the new monthly catalog to consumers, and I've only got about over 1,000 right now, but we try to grow it, saying, hey, if you like these books, from Dren Productions or Get Your Meds, whatever, tell your store to order them with confidence, right? So that's one approach. The other is I'm about to do commercials on streaming, and I offer any of the people in the catalog, if they want to be a part of the commercial, for a small fee, because I can't foot the bill for 5 commercials, You can have a good 7 to 10 second spot where we've got your cover, an interior page, your log line, and you'll be on streaming. So we try to get them into commercials with that. I pay for the commercial. I create the commercial. They just have to pay towards the time of the commercial.
Right.
And again, it's not expensive. Getting back to the crowdfunding, we offer for people who have crowdfunding campaigns that are aligned with whatever our monthly FOC is at the time, for a very small, reasonable fee, and it's just to cover my labor costs because I have to have people pick and packing. We will put flyers in. We will do a digital flyer in that newsletter for you for your Kickstarter, and we will put physical flyers that you provide in every package that we send out, especially if you have retailer tiers on your campaign, to get you out there. And the fee is very, very small. It's just reasonable because, again, I have to have somebody putting those flyers in every package when we're packing up. So I'm not even making money on it. I'm just not losing money. I'm breaking even. And that's
Right.
really, that's what that is. So those are some of the things we're doing. I do live streams, and I went through the whole catalog and talked about each book and showed them. I'm going to be doing live streams soon and having a different publisher on each week to just promote their book and talk. I'm on here constantly talking about the publishers. To be honest with you, I've neglected really selling my own book because I've been focused on them. For those who know me, some people feel, I'm so outspoken. They may not like what I have to say, and that's fair because I'm very blunt and I'm honest. But you can trust what comes out of my mouth, even if you don't like it. Okay. And the other thing is, my intentions are sincere. I know what it's like to be that guy that nobody wants to give you a second of their time, no matter how hard you're working. You're going gray, you're going bald, you're losing sleep, you're busting your ass, you're praying to God every day, please, can I just get a break? And I know what that feels like. And I don't want to be some greedy corporation that is just preying on that desperation. I want to be the guy that helps nurture that and grow. I'm a sucker for Rocky. I'm a sucker for when Captain America jumped on the grenade, when he said, I can do this all day long. I know it sounds corny. It may sound like a line of shit to people. It's very sincere. If you get to know me, I'm really all about the humble pie Superman. I relate to the Hulk. I have an Irish temper, but I aspire to be Superman.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answers. I'm not the savior, but I sure as hell want to try. And I want to bring everybody with me, and I will do what I can. My wife says I extend myself too far and I'm burning myself out. I aged a lot in the last 4 years, and I just want to be the man my daughters deserve someday. And I want to be able to look at them in the face and know that no matter what I did, whatever mistakes I made, it was never with malice. It was always with an intent of integrity, and it was always trying to be part of the solution, not the problem. And that's really what it's about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, Phil.
Yeah, that's exactly, what I can relate to exactly,
And I have people that hate me for that, for whatever reason, and they come hard at me, and they really do horrible things. And it used to get to me, and it used to hurt me, not what they said or did, but that people could be like that. But now I'm not going to give that negative energy any attention. I can't serve a positive message if I'm delving and responding to negativity, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it anymore. So I call it the mission. The mission is to make this succeed for everyone. Everyone. My publishing company, your publishing company, everybody involved, and the people that work for me. I have a product manager. Her name is Maura Powers. She's magnificent to work with. She's brilliant in what she does, and she is why I haven't collapsed and fell apart already. She manages that site. She puts up everything. And Fabrice did the graphics for the catalog. I mean, between the two of them, it would have looked terrible. I can't do web design. So they're counting on this to succeed because this is their paycheck. Well, Fabrice is, he helped out. He's doing his own thing. But, this is a job for Maura. She's hired. She's working. I don't want to let her down. I don't want to let the publishers down. They're investing in me, and I don't want to let them down. I don't. That's my pride. I don't want to fail anybody,
My only piece of advice or suggestion on the front page is you've got this really small circle thing here click here for the downloadable catalog. It took me like an hour to find it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would like to see that more at the top.
I'll let her know. I'll give her the feedback.
But other than that, once I found it and I could download it, I was like, okay.
Because of that September, October on the same FOC, though, we did have to put it underneath that statement so people would see that statement. But we can make the link bigger, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not
was the catalog.
So not putting out a physical catalog. Was that just a financial decision, or was there something else behind it?
Yeah. So for me to be creator friendly, I don't know if people understand the numbers, but if you got into Diamond, by the time everybody got their piece of the pie, a creator was lucky to get 20% of their own book, and their print cost ate all that up. And they didn't get paid for at least 8 weeks after because of the invoicing, etc. And they only got paid after marketing, expenses, everything were taken care of, and most publishers, etc. So they are struggling. I'm only charging 5% to publishers. And for me to keep those costs down, I have to keep my staff at the working minimum, which means I can't be packing up catalogs and sending them out. And my expenses to send a catalog out to the 2,300 stores in North America alone or overseas, the expense would be so monumental that not only would I be dying right out of the gate, but I'd have to charge them 20% just like everybody else, and they would die. So, talking to a lot of retailers, a lot of them don't even want the physical catalog anymore. It's easier for them to point and click on the computer instead of looking through this big phone book of stuff that you ever go into an ice cream shop and there's like 500 flavors? You're so overwhelmed that you just go, screw it, Oreo cookies and cream, because everybody loves Oreo cookies and cream. I didn't want that either. So we do a full page for every book, and we put it in this PDF digital format that's bright and colorful so that you don't get buried and people can see you. I mean, stores don't even have time to look through that whole catalog.
Yeah, I do it every month. I buy a previews every month as a consumer. I get the customer catalog and I fill it out myself because the retailers don't have time. They don't.
Right.
And
we are implementing that. Thanks to you, Lewis, reminding me to do that. We're going to implement that order form for people to do that and submit to their stores. And for people who live in a state that the next store is 50 miles away and they have to order through subscription service. So thank you, Lewis, for reminding me, bringing that to my attention. We are working on that right now.
Now, that being said, what people don't realize as well for printing a catalog like that I just showed, part of the reason Diamond is so far in arrears of money is because they owed the printer close to $1 million back revenue for printing those catalogs.
Yep.
When you work and you do a catalog, all of us publishers have to pay to be in the catalog. It doesn't go just to the people who are packing those books.
Right.
It goes to pay for this production. And once Image and DC and Marvel started printing their own because it was cheaper for them to do it on their own than it was to pay Diamond to do it, especially after they left Diamond, what was left of us didn't account for the amount of expense to print and distribute this product anymore for the majority of what we're doing, because most retailers are not actively marketing the back of the catalog, for lack of a better word, to the customer base. And if you don't market that, then this catalog is worthless. I hate to say that.
You're right. They're going through a third of that catalog and marketing a third of it if they're lucky.
Diamond, Lunar, Hatchet Book Group, Penguin Random House, all the so-called major distributors that I call the loony diaper bin of distribution, all of it is 10% of the actual amount of product that is being produced in North America. They're marketing maybe a third of the 10%, so they're marketing 3% of the books.
Right.
And the other 90% of us are either print on demand, web comics, digital exclusive, or crowdfunded and otherwise direct to consumer. And it's a question of what is more suited to the future of comics, getting that 90% acknowledged and into retail vendor outlets to the general public, or focusing on this narrow bandwidth that we've marketed excessively for the last 40 years. And we know where we're at doing that for the last 40 years.
Right.
And it's hard to get, we're all creatures of habit. We know what has worked for us for so many years. It's very difficult to say, okay, I've been running this comic shop for 15, 20 years, to completely rearrange how you look at what you order and how you market it and who you market it to can be very daunting to people. And the best that we can do is try to encourage them, help them understand how to go about doing it in a way that is not seemingly overwhelming to them.
Right.
And hopefully you can get through to them enough to do it. But a lot of these stores that have been around forever, I don't want to say they're going to go the way of the dodo, because they aren't. They're still going to adapt to different things. Whether that's through adapting by expanding into gaming or toys or whatever they're going to do, or other means. But we need a new generation that understands that it's more than just the diamond market or just the lunar market or whatever that we need to be seeking out. And I think that you've you've acknowledged that, you've recognized that. I don't know when that started. Did it start basically when Diamond went into bankruptcy, or did you think it?
No, I've seen these things coming 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. People thought I was crazy. They got mad at me when I said it. They said I was nuts. They didn't know what I was talking about, and I predicted this happening a long time ago. I mean, remember, I didn't just say a month ago, oh, you know what, let's do distribution. This has been planned for a year and a half, 2 years. So I started writing on a wall, and I knew what was going on, and I was like, I'm not waiting. And I timed this for the first time in my life. Timing was right. I timed it right because I saw all these things. And look, the stores that have been around for 40 years, these are smart people. They're good businessmen and women. They will continue to thrive. And by no means am I implying they aren't. But that doesn't mean that they're not missing out on potential growth in another area that they could have. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's potential growth here that I don't think they see, that I think that, you know what, it's okay. I'll prove it to them. It's all right if they're skeptical. They have every right to hold on to their pocketbooks and their purses and their wallets. And God bless them. You got to do what's best for your business. It's my job to show them that they're missing out on the investment. And then when they jump on board, welcome them with open arms and say, we're glad you're here. And that's really it.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
But, getting back to the previews thing, if you saw the Tragedy is the first Philviews cover. Every month for free, I'm going to put a publisher's cover on there as the cover of the Philviews. I'm not going to charge them for it. Why? What does it cost me to just throw a digital graphic up and give them a little promotion?
Right.
My daughter's coming to say goodnight. I love you. Sleep well, sweet dreams. This is my little bear.
Hello.
That's my youngest. I love you, kid. Sleep well, sweet dreams. God bless. She's the one that's more like me. She's feisty. My older one is quiet and reserved like her mom. Yeah. We will give you the shirt off our back or a foot in your rear end. It really is all up to you.
Yeah, that's about how I feel about a lot of things too. So
she's got a little bit of the Dickens in her, right?
Yeah, sweetest thing, but boy, does she have an Irish temper. Love you, kid. And she's a social butterfly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great, and keep up the work you're doing. And if you have any questions, just chat with me on what my experiences were back in the 90s.
Absolutely. With your experience, I would love to pick your brain and hear what you have to say. Absolutely. I mean that. I don't have an ego. My ego is just to be better tomorrow than I was today, and to just not let the people who count on me down. That's the extent of my ego. So yeah, I can learn a lot from you. You did it. You've been there. And you did it in a volatile time too. So, I mean, absolutely.
Well, the thing is, I did it outside of the box, so to speak, because the box didn't want me to be in the box.
That's what I'm going through right now. But, I do have to say this though. Richard Johnston and Heidi McDonald, Richard Johnston from Bleeding Cool and Heidi McDonald from Comics Beat, they were really good at supporting and putting this out there. I mean, Bleeding Cool did like 3 or 4 articles. That article they did, I have pinned to my page showing us as one of the major distributors just based on publisher numbers, was huge. And I can't thank them enough for giving us an outlet, giving a voice for us in distribution indie, and putting us on the map, because I don't think we would have had the success that we already have so far without them. And there's a lot of people rallying around me in the community. So as much as we could talk about the downside of things, there has been a
positive swell too.
Yeah, there's a great positive group of people in here rooting for me to succeed, rooting for all the publishers to succeed, and wanting to be a part of it for good altruistic reasons. And that's what I want to focus on. That's what I want to surround myself with. And I appreciate those people. For example, I had a store owner call me today. And I'm very open with customer service. He was like, aren't you going to get burned out being your own customer service liaison? I go, at some point, I'll have to pass that over. But I think it's important for me to develop a relationship with you in the beginning instead of you talking to a middleman. I don't think that's right. If I'm going to ask you to invest in my business, the least I could do is be there to invest in you and your time. So he got on, and he was an old school guy, 33 years in the business, and I really thought I was going to get lambasted about what he thought I should be doing. This dude, he was like, no, it's totally understandable. 40% compared to 35% Lunar, you're not going to be selling in bulk. What business doesn't, do bulk pricing? That's just normal business. The prepay, he even acknowledged prepay gives me more managed time over my own money. Like I have 60 days to pay for it. I don't have to get stuck with an invoice later. How many of the store owners pay their invoices on time, and then Diamond's saying they owe them money, and they're like, "What are you talking about? For what?" And Diamond doesn't tell them what. They don't detail it. They don't itemize it. Or maybe you had a bad week. Your daughter had to get braces, and now you're getting hit with the invoice or the COD, and you don't have the money. Diamond also complained that they had a lot of credits out there with stores. This eliminates all that. You get your flat rate shipping right there. You get your order in. You know that you spent your money. There's no bills coming out of nowhere to you. There's no surprise invoices. You're just waiting on your product, which is guaranteed to get there, because otherwise I'd be sued by a ton of publishers. My business would crash. My own publishing company would crash. And it would be the stupidest thing I ever did to not deliver books. So he understood the prepay. He understood the percentage. And he said to me that my website was so beautiful and it was so easy to navigate and nice to look at. And he liked it better than the other distributors. And I was very flattered for a guy 33 years in the business to say that. It was nice to see someone old school rooting for me,
Speaking of the websites, yes, your site, first off, at least I can get on your site. Lunar doesn't even want me on their site.
What do you mean?
Like, they don't want me to be on their site. It's like they don't want to let me look at the catalogs or nothing. And I'm like, okay, I just don't do this. It's weird.
It is weird.
And I don't know if it's something to do with my computer or whatever, but it's just that I cannot open anything on that site.
That's so weird.
And Diamond's catalog has been what it's been. I actually have more ease trying to find stuff just going comics this week. Google it.
Yeah, and one of our challenges is we're looking at what we're going to do when the August catalog launches, and we have the two going at the same time, because you'll have two different FOC dates going on overlapping. That's how it works in comics. And then we're going to have backstock reorder tabs. So we're working on all that because we don't want the site to get oversaturated and convoluted, and we don't want it to be that 500 flavors of ice cream to where you're just pulling your hair out, going nuts. Nobody has time for that anyway. So we've got some good ideas we're going to go and implement. You're always welcome. If you have a few to share with me, I will always appreciate. And we're working on that. We're constantly working at the website and user friendly and store friendly and publisher and creator friendly and fan friendly. We're constantly tweaking things. We're actually probably going to leave the host site we have and go to a better one that offers better for us, especially with the invoicing side of things, because I'm going to be invoicing the publishers and stuff, and I also want to send them sales reports. So, there's
do that, and if you don't mind, when you have those ready, if you want to share them publicly the way it used to be shared through Comic-Con, I would advise doing that, because the retailers and the community need to see what is actually going on, because a lot of retailers are just so confused right now. They don't know what to order because they don't know what's selling and what's not.
Right. Yeah, no, I want to be able to deliver the numbers like Diamond used to.
Okay. Yeah, I would recommend getting hold of John Jackson Miller over at Comic-Con, who usually he was the one who compiled them on that site for every month.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you could connect us, that'd be great. That's something. That's another thing that I would like to do. Didn't know where to start. I mean, just meeting people like yourself is that positive influence, sharing knowledge and ideas, and even stores that gave me feedback, even if I didn't agree with the feedback. Just I appreciate that you're rooting for me. If you're giving me feedback on how to improve, that means you want to see me succeed.
That's Lewis's superpower, is to know more about comics and what's going on in the industry than anybody else in the freaking world. That's his superpower.
Well, I appreciate it and I welcome it. I do. I don't have all the answers. You know, I know a lot.
I don't either. As much as he likes to think I do. But the thing is, if I don't have the answer, someone else does.
Right. And you know who to go to. Exactly.
It's finding who to go to. If you don't know, go seek.
Right.
Because somebody has the answers. And even if and here's the thing, the answer isn't always what you want to hear.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people have a reluctance to understanding too.
That's why people aren't big fans of me at times. Like I told you, you may not like what I have to say, but you can trust what comes out of my mouth. You can trust what I have to say.
Yeah. So again, this is Phillip Russertt, and his site is philbodistribution.com. We recommend that you go check that out. Send a link to your retailer if they haven't heard of it. Let them know what it is. They represent AC Comics, Antarctic Press, Billy Tucci's Crusade Comics, Zenoscope,
Marat Michaels Counterpoint.
Pardon?
Marat Michaels Counterpoint, Devil's Due.
Yep. There's a lot of people out there.
We have two big publisher announcements coming soon too.
Yeah. So I mean, cool. It's very much a growing enterprise, and I'm hoping, like he says, he didn't want to grow too expansively, especially not too quickly, because it can get so overwhelming. Hopefully we can get to a place where everybody's a nice even keel and can just operate.
Right.
That would be the goal. And
I do have to be careful of the pitfall of growing too fast too. So a smart man doesn't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And but at the same time, by putting on what you're doing, you're setting up a template for others to work it too. It doesn't always have to be, well, I don't want to work with Phil. Then go work with another distributor who does their own thing in a different part of the country.
Like I said, I value the free market. That free market and a healthy and fair competition. That's a good thing for everybody. So you've got the ICV2 and the panel fly out there. They're more of a broker kind of system, but you know what? They provide a good service for other people that maybe distribution isn't for them, or it's again, the more different out of the box thinking we have, the better you have of an industry growing and thriving. So I don't see them as competition. I see them as brothers in arms in the community, and I wish their success too. Obviously, I wish I'm successful as well. But I want to see all of them grow, because when they succeed, they're helping publishers and they're getting readers in stores, and then they're getting comics out there. And that's really what it's about at the end of the day.
Okay. Yep. Fantastic. I love your philosophy, Phil. I love your ideas. And I love that you have that nurturing spirit. So, and that you want everybody to succeed. So that's fantastic. And thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you chatting with Lewis and I. I
appreciate you guys having me on, and let's do it.
All right.
Have a good one.
Did Lewis freeze?
I think he did.
I think Lewis froze.
I stopped him in his tracks. Lois!
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I didn't want to keep you too long. I know an hour and a half is probably like the most.
I think we're still live.
We are live, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
No, it's fine. Yeah, not a problem at all. I appreciate the time, and I can ramble on for hours. So.
All right. Do you have anything else that you want to put forward or talk about?
Just, as well as talking about supporting comics, support podcasts like this one that inform you on stuff, talk about pop culture. Maybe we don't have that friend base that we can go sit around a table and talk, well, you can come on podcasts like this and talk through the chat or listen and enjoy. So, we appreciate guys like you that give us a voice and let us on there. And we hope the fans come out and support you as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right.
Well,
Tell Lewis, I'll see you on the flip side.
All right. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. I do not have the capability to stop the show. So.
Oh, because he was.
Yeah, he's got the.
Oh, I think if we just click out of StreamYard, it might end abruptly.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. Okay.
Yeah, my internet cut out on us. That's my internet cut out. That's what happened. Yeah, thank you, Phil, for being on the show. We appreciate you being on. We're going to go cut for some Kickstarters before we leave, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate you, and I'll be talking to you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, Phil.
Take care.
All right.
Alrighty, man. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if we were just going to click out and end the show or what was going on.
No, what happened was the whole internet just froze up on the thing, and then I didn't have internet at all.
Oh, no. Well,
yeah. And I was like,
it happens.
Yes. And I was like, oh, crap. I've got to get this stuff here. I got to, come on. I went to get my phone to let you know what was going on. And it came back, thank goodness. But yeah, sorry about that, folks. So anyway, Kickstarters. What do we got this week?
All right. What do we have?
We have Battle Pug by Mike Norton. 3 days left to go. They are just over their pledge goal of 14,000 with 16,198 with 329 backers. And let me go ahead and get the banner off there real quick. Here we're going to talk about Kickstarters now. I think what it is the weather around here is getting nasty.
That's a possibility. Yeah, there's been thunderstorms and just all kinds of crazy.
All right, Kickstarters. That's what we're doing. Okay, Battle Pug Cosmic Doggy Sea. This is a fun little thing. Let's see what we got going on here.
Hey, we're back. Yep, it's Battle Pug, the comic you didn't know you missed until now, or maybe you didn't miss it at all. Either way, we're here. I'm Mike Norton. I've been drawing comics for it feels like 1,000 years. And Battle Pug is my weird little baby. It's half sword and sorcery, half fever dream, and all giant drooling dog. Over the years, we've had several books published through Image and Dark Horse, and even won a few awards.
Wow.
But I took a break for a while, and now I'm back. So you're welcome. The new volume, it's bigger, it's bloodier, it's a brand new story that somehow is dumber and smarter at the same time. I don't know what happened. Probably magic or sleep deprivation. The book continues our original series, but starts our characters down a brand new road, literally opening up new worlds for them to explore. Why Kickstarter? I've been making comics professionally for 28 years now, and until now, I've always let somebody else handle the publishing. But printing comics isn't free, and I like making books my way, not whatever way saves a couple bucks. So if you back it, you get cool stuff. Books, prints, posters, a pug the size of a horse, maybe even a sketch from me if my hand doesn't fall off. Cosmic Doggery is finished and it's just waiting for me to send off to the printer. So all we need to do now is pay for it. So if you've ever read a Conan comic and thought, you know what this needs? A giant dog. This is your moment. So back the thing. Share it or don't. But if you help us out, you'll be officially my favorite person for the next 30 days. So thank you.
Yeah, he's kind of funny.
That's good. Yeah, that was
Look,
good.
but, I mean, so hold on. I gotta pause that for a second and go back a few seconds there. Come on. Okay, I'm gonna play it again. It won't show. Oh, I love the tattoos he has. Did you notice he had a thing face, a panel?
Oh no, I did not.
Yeah, I'm like, that was neat.
That's
These
pretty
different
cool.
things. He does things like that. But okay, let's look at this book though. I mean, this is, it's Conan riding a giant battle pug.
And it's gorgeous. It really is. The art is
Yeah.
gorgeous. So
Yes, it is. And this was an Eisner and a Harvey Award winning series already. And you can get the collections at imagecomics.com. They did it at Dark Horse and Image. And see, this is what I was talking about with earlier in the show, where you got these publishers, these great talents, great books that have gone through different books, and they got to come over here to Kickstarter to get funded now because they're just not getting the support.
Right.
And that's got to change, folks. And we got to change that. And the retailers can't get mad and say, well, we abandoned you. Because we didn't abandon you. I understand that you're not going to sell 100,000 copies of Battle Puck.
Right.
There's only 2,000 stores. Okay, fine. That means every store would have to sell 50 copies of Battle Puck. That's not going to happen. We understand that. But can we get it to like 25, 30,000 copies of regular? I think we could. Don't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, based on what we're seeing here on the quality of the book.
And it used to be if you put out a good quality book with writing and art, people would buy it. Like, you would be a success. That's how it used to be. And it wasn't necessarily, dependent on
branding and marketing and cost.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, digital book, $15 for 144 pages. That's not too bad. What does the digital hardcover signed digital? You get a digital and a hardcover print for $40, and that's a hardcover with a. I don't know if it's an actual print on the actual booklet or if it's going to be like a slipcase cover, but either way, should be pretty cool. You can get the remark in print. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a 3D image type version of Battle Puck. That
cool.
looks cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah.
This is the first time I looked at it. I mean, I've heard of Battle Pug. I've never seen it in stores. There we go again, right?
Right.
I knew of it. I've just never seen it. And, here we go. The retailer special, 5 copies for $70. That's not bad because you're talking about selling at $40 a piece. He's giving you $200 value for $70. That's, a really good discount.
Yeah, that's a really good
discount. You're paying your shipping, but he's limiting the quantity to only 10 retailers. He's only got 6 backers, limited quantity, 4 left of 10. That's a little bit weird to me, but I guess, I mean, if he had the demand, I think he would change his mind.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Oh, there's the 3D cover.
Yep, there's the 3D mini print. You get the mini print.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I'm digging that. You get a signed 18 by 24 screen print by him. You did say bite me. Well, no, you're right. My bad. That is a great cover. Or great sketch, I should say. That was good. And of course, he's got, a lot of people who are talking about him. I mean, whether it's Gail Simone, you may not like Gail Simone, but people like Busiek, people like, this was a little bit of a snarky comment. Battle Pug is the first comic I mentioned. Take that, Saga. I mean, come on, Mark.
Oh, come on. Snark from Mark Waid? No.
We should call him Snark Wade.
There you go.
Yeah. Make him a snake. Snake wearing glasses. Yeah. Snark Wade.
That's his superhero persona. Snark Wade.
Super villain persona. Oh, there's geez, Patton Oswalt
Yeah.
voting in. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean that's cool. So yeah, I mean, now you're gonna get a trading card because they're over the 16,000.
Yeah, they're almost to the next stretch goal too. So
Yeah, that would
Very
be a
cool.
cool. Getting my other ride as a Battle Pug bumper sticker. Everybody
Yeah.
like, what the hell is that? Yeah, but yeah, okay. I'm unfortunately the early bird edition is gone because we're almost to the end of the campaign. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff here.
Joey likes Snark Wade.
Oh. Joey, you were asking for the piece here. This is what the Captain America turned out looking like. And then the other sketch of the day on Sunday was this.
Stuff a little creature from the Black Lagoon.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I saw. Okay. I wasn't sure because you had mentioned in the store that, you'd missed it because you fell asleep. I'm trying to watch it, which is understandable. That's why I put them out again, like you asked when we were talking at the comic store. But yeah, let's see what other cool stuff here. That just, okay, well, where is it? It's $40 for the book and digital, and $60 for the remark and the print. Okay. So basically for $60, you get a mini sketch in the book, signed, numbered, and you get that print for $60 with the fold out print with the 3D image. That's not
Very
bad.
cool.
Not bad at all. Sorry, it removed the present again. There we go. Yeah, so I'm gonna probably back this one. I'm not sure if I'm backing it for just the book or if I'm gonna get that print because that print looks really cool. I have to check my budget. Oh, he hadn't seen the creature. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and get to the next one here. And that is our friend Grant Lankard's League of Cryptids, Frogs Go to Loveland, 1 through 3. 5 days left to go. They are not quite to their 2,500 goal. Then
Oh, and Lewis's internet is out again. So yeah, if you're a fan of cryptids like I am, you are going to want to back this book because Grant puts out some fantastic work. The artwork is it's phenomenal. The writing is just top tier. Everything about this book is fantastic. So
okay,
you're
I'm
back.
back. All right. Yeah, I want to make sure we were back before I tried to hit the.
Sasquatch, the Loch Ness Monster, Mothman, the Jersey Devil, Chupacabra. For millennia, these creatures have perplexed the human race. But what if they are forces of good? What if they have been sent here by a federation of more advanced alien species to help and defend the human race? That's the premise of League of Cryptids, a new comic book by Grant Lankard, creator of the smash hits Beowulf and Memoirs of the Morbid. His new comic, League of Cryptids, is a 4-part story involving these 5 creatures banding together to defend Earth from an invading alien race, just as one of their members is losing faith in the human race and questioning their mission. The adventure continues in League of Cryptids 3.
All right, fantastic video. Yeah, this got 5 days to go for this, 117 backers, and it is almost at its goal. So, yeah, if you can, and you're a big fan of cryptids like I am, consider backing this book.
Yes. Sorry I had to step away. Midnight was being bad. I had to chase him downstairs. Let's see what he got here. The digital is $5. The print is $7. If you want the deluxe variant cover, it's $9. Or the deluxe variant cover B, it's $9. A digital catch-up tier for all of the books. I love how they love misspelling ketchup. It's a ketchup tier. You get ketchup all over your comics. Yummy. Right.
Right. Exactly, Joey. Like it should have like a Mokili and Bimbe type character, like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Dino human.
The print league is 19. Okay. All 3 covers for the current number 3 is 24. And a retailer's tier, again, $25. You get a bunch of different things. I don't know what all they're giving, but quite a bit of stuff there. And I don't know yet if the piece that we did as the Jersey Devil is going to be for this one or next. I think it's going to be for the next campaign if he's going to use it. I don't know. He hasn't actually told me. I've been trying to get a hold of him on that.
Okay.
But whether he does or doesn't is really not that important to us. We were just trying to help him out, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they should eventually have a Dino Human on the team. But yeah, it's not a bad series. Of course, Grant, we've had on the show before, and we've promoted Beowulf, and we've promoted Memoirs of Morbid, and we've also promoted this series in the past. So, if you're familiar with the channel, you know what kind of work he's done. He's been consistent throughout, and should be okay. Should be reliable. Mm-hmm. All right, our next book is Jackrabbit, a science fiction graphic novel. And it's only a little bit past halfway of their goal, 3,000, but they just started yesterday, so they're doing okay.
Yeah, they got plenty of time left.
Oh, yeah. And, if you like science fiction, fantasy, thief stories type thing, this is Story Lane Books, David Schlau and Aktu Yavaska. And let's see what all it's about.
In a 1950s influenced retro-futuristic New York City, where the Kennedy brothers never died and monorails are the city's main form of transportation, Flynn Hawking is a brilliant robotics engineer on the cusp of marrying his sweetheart. But on the night of his engagement party, Flynn's estranged father returns and reveals their utopia is not what it seems, thus dragging him into events that will change his life forever. Jackrabbit, a new 64-page science fiction graphic novel from Story Lane Books.
Yeah, being science fiction, I'm obviously interested.
Yeah, this is definitely your cup of tea.
Yeah. 64 pages for 25 is pretty reasonable. Digital is only 15.
I'm a lowbrow kind of guy. I don't do high concept.
Woo! Just give me a chainsaw and some blood, man.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, I hear you. You got yeah, I'll get it spit out a variant B cover print for 25 and a C cover as well. I like the A cover the best of the three. All right. You know, you can get print and digital for 26 both. That's not bad. Yeah, I mean, his prices are reasonable and consistent throughout. A black and white sketch, all covers. Yeah, that's not that bad either. I notice he doesn't have a retailer set, though. He probably should. But, you know, it is what it is, right?
Yep, it is what it is.
And again, you know, looking at the artwork, you know, I mean, yeah, it's well produced, but no, it's not like Marvel DC style. It's more, like, you know, it's more akin to the kind of stuff that we've been doing. Stuff like the artist who does the Jersey Devil comic we were just reviewing.
Grant.
Not
like
Grant. No.
The artist.
The book that you like. That was the Jersey Devil, the miniseries from Dark Horse.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of the
sorry.
artist.
I can't think of the artist's name either. So I apologize.
Yeah, but it looks more akin to that style.
Yeah, it's not high flashy, but it's good art.
Yeah, it's clean. It's not quite as crosshatchy as the other guys' work. You know, it's more open space, so it leaves a little more open cleanness to the art. But I think, you know, we see similar things going on here.
Yeah.
Has a kind of, like he says, that retro 50s, that retro Jetsons type thing kind of going on.
Right.
Interesting car designs. Overall, quite interesting. The book's fully complete, so it takes about a month for the funding to clear through Kickstarter, and then a month after that for printing and then shipping to you. So they're expecting to have the book 2 to 3 months after the campaign ends, which is reasonable. And of course, it depends on, you know, how fast the actual turnaround, because printing can always have problems, but, you know, hopefully they will get it all right.
Right.
Okay, you know, looks good. I like this. Despite robots being pivotal to the story, all of our artwork is original illustrations by real life humans. AI
used.
No, AI was only used for the narration of the trailer.
I see.
Okay. Yeah, that's one I'll probably back eventually. Again, I got to figure out what's going on with my dad. I'll tell you after the show, Chris.
Okay.
But our last book for the night for reviews is Gralgor and Shanks #1, Fantasy Mystery Detectives. The dwarf detective and his orc steward solve grisly murder mysteries in the high fantasy world. It's Lord of the Rings meets Knives Out meets Watson and Holmes. Basically, they're almost there. I mean, they're at 80% of their goal, 4,005. They got 18 days ago, 130 backers, and you know,
9 have been slain. At first, we thought it was some wild animal, hunting and devouring our people. But each sighting further confirmed our greatest fear. It has a taste for our blood now. It hunts us. What kind of dwarf would trade a battle axe for a tailor's thread? The Gralgor I would speak with is the warrior, the adventurer, the monster hunter. And I would speak with him now.
Grogor and Shanks, we blend the epic fantasy of Lord of the Rings with the mystery, clever twists of Knives Out or Sherlock Holmes. This new series follows a dwarf named Von Grogor and his grumpy orc companion Arlog Shanks as they unravel crimes and confront classist systems in a rich, high fantasy world.
They're not just detectives. They embody the spirit of friendship and teamwork in a land completely ruled by chaos.
I've been friends with artist Joe Mulvey for over a decade, and I'm thrilled to finally be working on a project like this with him.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be working with John Lees on this series. He's my Scottish brother from another mother, and I also can't wait for all of you to be able to check out Grogor and Shanks and come along on this adventure with us. Expect action, humor, and heart with the occasional grizzly murder.
64-page standard American-sized comic book containing 2 feature-length Grogor and Shanks mysteries. This campaign includes a number of covers to choose from, drawn by Joe Mulvey, as well as limited edition variants, including a blank artist edition sketch cover, a gold foil stamped cover, a C.P. Wilson plush-style variant, and an Adam Cahoon wraparound virgin variant, as well as lenticular covers, metal covers, and more. Throughout the campaign, you'll also have a chance to snag some original art by Joe Mulvey and can be drawn into the series in a cameo role. Since 2012, Comics Tribe has funded more than 39 successful Kickstarter campaigns, so you can back with confidence when you select one of our amazing rewards because this team always delivers.
Your support on Kickstarter will help us bring Grogor and Shanks to life by helping us fund a large print run, make cool collectibles, and bring this book into the world.
We really can't wait to take you on this thrilling ride. It's going to be filled with action, fantasy, adventure, and mystery. So don't miss it.
What are you waiting for? Hop on the wagon and back Grogor and Shanks, Book 1 on Kickstarter today.
That's the first Scottish, like
Hi,
really
it's your
Scottish.
pal John Lees. Do you like arts? Look, I rolled a nat 20 persuasion. That means you have to buy it.
It's like a laser pointer. Where is it? Where's it going? It looks like I have a monocle. That's what I should have got for this video, a monocle.
This new series follows a dwarf named Von Grogor and his grumpy... I fucked up already. Right, I'll try that again. Right, start off. Take 2.
Oh, he rolling that 20. You got to buy it, Chris.
I absolutely have to. Yep. No choice. This is the book you're looking for.
Yes. Oh, wow, man. Okay. Let's see what the price is. This one is. Digital is $8. Print is $23. Well, again, you're talking about 64-page book. So.
Right. You're getting a lot for your money.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. The blank cover sketch is $25. That makes sense. Gold foil stamp, $28. A UV spot finish plush cover is $32. The virgin cover, $37. Lenticular covers. That when it does that moving like that, it's like if you move the book around, it's going to shift.
Right.
Just so people don't understand what that means. I wish they'd shown it a finished cover on camera to show it. It would have been a lot easier to back that. The rare metal cover, $90. Okay, yeah. $125 for 10 comics. Yeah, when you're selling them for $25, you're selling them with 50% discount. I see that's reasonable. So, yeah, I mean, lots of cool stuff. And if you want 20 comics, it's $325, and you get the regular and 5 copies each of 1A, B, 1C, and 2 copies of 1B, and a rare copy of each of the other variants, a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's pretty cool, Yeah. Are you really interested in this one?
This looks like a very cool comic. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty then. That's all of our reviews for tonight. And we want to thank Phil Russertt for being our guest tonight and talking with us. And gosh, it's good to hear someone say some of the things I've said, right?
Right. Yes.
I don't feel so alone in the universe anymore.
That's funny.
Well, no, I mean, we've had this conversation before,
We have, absolutely, yes.
And how people perceive me as a creator and a publisher and as a distributor because of what happened. So, just to have Phil saying a lot of the things that I said 20 years ago, I think it's interesting though that, like you said, it's the right time for it now, because whether it's out of desperation because there is no more Diamond, whether it's because people have just gotten fed up enough with the situation that they're willing to actually support it, I don't know. But, at least people are doing it now,
Right.
And, I don't think that Phil alone is the answer. And I'm glad he doesn't either. He repeatedly said that he's not the answer alone.
Right. It's him and the other distributors that are, making a concerted effort to make this work. So
yeah. So hopefully we'll have more for everybody else, and give more options for everybody, both readers and retailers alike. That's the plan anyway. All right, folks. There is no show on Thursday. It's my dad's birthday on Thursday. He'll be turning 82, and I want to make sure that he's taken care of for the day. Friday is going to be our movie night.
Yes. Excited.
And our movie is going to be Hellboy, the Crooked Man at 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if John's going to be on the show with us or not. Chris and I will be doing this. Chances are John won't be or if he does, he'll come in late because he's got another theater thing going on, and he doesn't get out and get home until after we start. So he may come in late, he might not. That's how tired he is. Next week we will start back with the conclusion of Adam the Beginning for the Monday manga. And then I don't know what's going on the rest of the next week because we're waiting to hear back from one person as a guest for Tuesday. And Thursday, we've got some bad news medically from my father recently. And I don't want to get into all the details publicly yet. But it's not looking good. And so I have to wait and see what's going on. He's got a doctor's appointment on that Thursday next week. So I don't know if we're going to be ready to do the Thursday show next week either until I know what's going on.
Right.
So that's what's going on for the show moving forward. So again, we thank you for watching, and if you came in late, please go back and watch from the beginning and stuff because there's a lot of good talk with Phil, and hopefully the reviews of the campaigns we discussed tonight will also entertain you and interest you. So, with that being said, let's go on. There we are. If you want to reach out to me on Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, on Twitter or X at LewisBrightRaven2. DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven is my DeviantArt page. You're watching Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, exclusively on YouTube. You want to email me, QuothRavenLBR72@gmail.com is a place to reach me. If I don't get back to you, try LewisBrightRaven@yahoo.com. And this Saturday, what are you got going on, Chris?
This Saturday on Glass Houses presents Throwing Stones podcast over on YouTube. we have the amazing Brian Haberlin.
And Brian is
Brian is one of the pioneers of coloring in the comic book industry, and that alone is fascinating to talk to him about. But he also, not that long ago, started putting out fine art and some really, really amazing stuff. So I'm excited to talk to him about that stuff. So,
okay.
and that is at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Alrighty. Again, that's at Glasshouse Throwing Stones.
Yes.
On YouTube. And if you have questions, you can ask him at ghthrowingstones@gmail.com. And are you guys going to be doing your portfolio reviews on this Saturday as well? Do you know?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
David's looking over portfolios to see if we want to go over any, or if we just want to talk for an hour and 45 minutes to Brian.
That's about it. Yeah. All right, then. We thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven. Nevermore.